Your dog is watching you right now. And here's a question you've never really stopped to ask. When you cry and your dog comes over and rests its head on your knee, is it comforting you or does it just want something? Hold that question, because the answer is stranger than either option you're imagining. We've all felt it. The bad day, the tears, and then the animal that appears out of nowhere and presses itself against you. It feels like being understood. But feelings aren't evidence. So here's what we're actually going to find out. Whether your pet can tell you're sad at all, or whether you're just imagining it, what your dog is really doing when it comforts you, because it's not what you think, and the one animal that responds to human sadness in a way that science genuinely cannot explain. And that should give you chills by the time we get to it. By the end of this, you'll understand something about the animals sleeping in your house that most owners live their whole lives without knowing. Let's start with the first question. Can they even tell? For a long time, scientists assumed the answer was no, that when your dog seemed to sense your mood, you were doing something humans do constantly, projecting, seeing emotion where there's only instinct, reading a soul into an animal that's really just reacting to your body language and hoping for a treat. Then, in 2016, researchers at the University of Lincoln ran an experiment designed to settle it. They showed dogs two things at once: a photograph of a human face, either happy or angry, and at the same time played a human voice in either a cheerful or a furious tone. And they watched where the dogs looked. Here's what they found. When the emotion in the face matched the emotion in the voice, the dogs stared longer. They locked on, which means the dog wasn't just seeing an angry face or hearing an angry voice. It was combining them. It understood that the face and the voice were expressing the same underlying thing. That's not reaction. That's recognition. To merge a facial expression and a tone of voice into a single emotional state, your brain has to have a concept of that emotional state. The dogs weren't guessing. They had a working model of human emotion in their heads. So the first loop is closed. Yes, they can tell. Your dog knows the difference between you're happy and you're sad, and it isn't imagining it, and neither are you. But knowing you're sad and caring that you're sad are two completely different things, and that second one is where it gets complicated. So let's get to the question you actually came here for. When your dog comforts you, is it really trying to help you, or is it doing something more self-interested than we want to admit? Because there's an uncomfortable possibility hiding here. When you're distressed, you change. Your voice shifts, your body tenses, your smell literally changes as stress hormones move through you. And a dog that comes over when you're upset might not be comforting you at all. It might just be alarmed. Your distress is stressing it out, and it approaches to make its own discomfort stop. For years, that was the skeptical explanation, and it's a good one. So in 2018, researchers designed an experiment to break the tie. They put dog owners behind a clear door and had them either hum calmly or cry for help. The door was held shut with magnets so the dog could push through it if it chose to. And here's the result that changed the conversation. Dogs whose owners were crying pushed through the door dramatically faster than dogs whose owners were humming. But here's the crucial detail. The dogs that opened the door to a crying owner showed less stress themselves, not more. Sit with what that means. If the dog were only trying to relieve its own panic, high stress would drive it forward. Instead, the dogs that stayed calm enough to actually do something were the ones that got through. Their concern for the owner was strong enough to push past the barrier, but controlled enough that they didn't fall apart. Researchers compared it to something we recognize in ourselves: the difference between panicking at an emergency and staying composed enough to help. That's the answer to the second loop. It's not pure selflessness, and it's not pure selfishness. It's something in between that looks remarkably like empathy with its feet on the ground. Your dog isn't just catching your sadness like a cold. On some level, it wants to fix it. But dogs are the easy case. We bred them for tens of thousands of years to read us. Of course, they're tuned to human feeling. The real mystery is the animals we didn't build for this. And that's where the third question comes in. Remember the animal I promised you at the start? The one whose response to human sadness science can't fully explain? It's not the dog, it's the elephant. Elephants have almost no evolutionary reason to care about human emotion. We didn't domesticate them into companions the way we did dogs, and yet the reports keep coming, and they're hard to wave away. At an elephant sanctuary in Tennessee, Caretakers have documented elephants approaching grieving humans, people who'd lost someone, and standing with them, not begging for food, not looking for anything, just placing themselves beside the person and staying. Rescue workers in Asia have described injured or distressed people being approached by elephants that grew still and gentle in a way that doesn't match any obvious survival behavior. And here's why elephants specifically make scientists lean forward. They have spindle neurons, the same specialized brain cells found in humans, great apes, and whales, the cells associated with empathy and social awareness. Elephants mourn their own dead. They return to the bones of family members that died years earlier and touch them with their trunks. They have the neurological hardware for grief, and they clearly use it on each other. The question that can't be cleanly answered is whether an elephant, looking at a human crying, recognizes something it knows from the inside. Whether it's thinking, in whatever way an elephant thinks, I know what that is. I've felt that. The honest scientific answer is that we don't know. We can measure the behavior, we cannot get inside the elephant to confirm the feeling. But the behavior keeps showing up in animals that gain nothing from it, and no one has a clean explanation that makes it go away. So where does that leave us? Let's close every loop. Can animals tell when you're sad? Yes, that one's settled. Your dog builds a real model of your emotions in its mind, and it isn't your imagination. When it comforts you, does it mean it? As far as the evidence can reach, yes, more than we used to believe. Not perfect, selfless love, but a genuine impulse to close the distance between your pain and its presence. And the animals that respond to human sadness with no reason to, they're the reminder that we still don't fully understand what's looking back at us. Here's the part worth sitting with. For most of history, we assumed we were the only ones truly in here. The only ones with a rich inner world, the only ones who could recognize suffering and be moved by it. And every year, that wall gets shorter. The dog reading your face, the dog pushing through the door, the elephant standing beside a stranger's grief for reasons it can't tell us. The question was never really whether animals know when we're sad. The question is how long we spent assuming they didn't, and how much we missed sitting right next to us the whole time, understanding more than we ever gave them credit for. So the next time you're falling apart and something soft presses against you and just stays, that might be a lot more than instinct. It might be the closest thing to being understood that doesn't require a single word.